Okay, hi everybody, it's me, Bonkai22. Now, episode 22 is tomorrow, but I figured I'd put people's appetites for two specific discussion videos on the show, more particular on characters. This video is going to be specific on a certain amount of characters, called Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, The Rising of Characters discussion. The Rising of Characters. Or I should be more blunt to say Mobile Suit Gundam, Witch from Mercury, Earth House Rising discussion. Because really, I think that is the only way to really describe it, is because there are other characters you can pinpoint here and there, maybe, but it's really Earth House that has the Rising. Now, obviously, when you say Rising, you have to say Falling, which is going to be the next video, titled Mobile Suit Gundam, Witch from Mercury, The Falling of Characters discussion. That's what I can say. Now, the way to really examine this bare bone wise is you got to look at a specific point in the series. And for this show, this anime, the specific point is into the second round. After episode 12, we go into episode 13, 14, 15, and we hit 16. Now, you could say that Shattuck had his rise early. If we're being blunt here. Like his character would be considered the rise and fall. That's how I would look at him. I'll talk a little bit about him in this video. Not too much though, because it's short-lived. It's what he did in episode 14 and 15. But after that, it doesn't go so well, kind of, really, But the more important thing is to talk about Earth House, the rise of Earth House. And more importantly, Suletta. Now, I was not on board for what they did in episode 17 and 18. I was not on board for it. I think it was terrible. It was dastardly. It was just all the wrong things you want to do to your main character. It's just all the wrong things. She finds out she's a clone, although it will be heavily spoilers here. She finds out she's a replicant, a clone, and her mother deserts her. Everybody's deserting her. Ghoul and Marion do what they did in episode 17. But here's the thing. It's only 2 episodes that this happens. And if you take a look what happens after those episodes to Suletta compared to them, it's like night and day. Suletta goes through 2 traumatic episodes, and in episode 19, towards the end, she gets resolve. All of a sudden, her demeanor changes, and as we go through 19, 20, and 21, we clearly see she's a different character. And she's on the rise. Unlike some other characters that are not on the rise. But it's not just her. It's also Earth House in general. I mean, Choo Choo, Martin, Nika. These characters not the same length as Suletta. But Martin, he too is on the rise because he too confined with somebody that we didn't think he was going to confine with. And his character changes from 20 and 21. And Nika also changes after she's released, but that's a short-lived thing. But the Earth House in general, there's some optimism. There's some, after They help Suletta. Suletta picks herself back up. Things go in a positive direction for them. And it's surprising because you see what happens in the recent episodes and you think, is it positive? For the characters it is. Because they're rising to the occasion. They're meeting this situation head on. It's not like, they're depressed. Because they're not. And I mean, you could say that based upon the last episode to a certain extent. But Suletta isn't taking this as she's depressed compared to other characters, which I will leave for another video for this one. But it's interesting to really see the dynamic here because I just want to, just really examine Suletta, how these creators of the show of which were Mercury, the writer basically had her go through this traumatic thing with her Gundam being taken away. Marina's gonna leave, not with her anymore, blah blah blah, and her mother basically disowned her. You're not my daughter. I'm leaving you to go to school. Like, that was traumatic. Yet she's still risen to the occasion. She's still moved on because of Earth House. And Earth House moved on. They moved on from the situation. They found a way to move on. But it's weird how they did it that way. 2 episodes of her going, like, really depressed, and then skyrocketing. Just we're not even looking back here. No, get out of here. Depression is gone. She's understanding what's going on. She understands why the Gundam, her sister, did what she did, and she's just moving straight forward. Even when the attack happened in episode 21, well, no, it was 20. Well, it was 20. It was not 21. She, at the end of the episode, what's she doing? She's moving rubble, and she's trying to find survivors. Chances are she probably is the one who found Petra. Petra, by the way, is alive, from my understanding, where she's in critical condition. But it's weird how these characters were on the rise after such a traumatic situation happening. And this is not to be known for Gundam. Gundam's always had this kind of a situation in its history with children stepping up and piloting mobile suits. You know the story. But when compared to the other side of the other people involved, you're like, wow, what a difference. And even like last week's episode, I could tell that even though she's telling this horrible thing, that she's a replicant and a clone, and they are shocked by it, she's still telling them, and she's still moving forward. Now, where this goes is anyone's guess, but I wanted to do this video just to emphasize the differences here and how this writer, who did Code Geass, is basically telling 2 different kinds of characters in 2 completely different situations. Suletta and let's not beat around the bush, mirroring. Now, I'm not going to go into mirroring. That's the next video. The next video is going to be basically the fall. But it's interesting to see that this is how they went about it, which is weird. Now, I read articles here and there stating that, it's very new, it's out of the box, it's not following the same kind of situation. And when you really think about this show, what it's doing is basically saying that now is the time for these characters to rise up and fight against this person who, let's be perfectly honest, is evil. Now, you can point the finger. Really, if we're really pointing the finger at anyone, it's Delling. This is Delling's fault for doing what he did 23 years ago. But regardless of the fact, her quote-unquote mother, Prospera, is still fanning the flames of war here and trying to kill everyone and blah, blah, blah. But it's interesting to see that in the span of after 2 episodes, end of episode 19, 20, and 21, we see Suletta and we see Earth House going up. Their characters are rising. They're getting a lot of development. They're not being depressed for themselves. They're moving forward, which I could say is not what other characters are doing. Now, I didn't mention it here. I want to mention also one other thing. Shattuck. Now, he's a little different. His rise, in some aspects, you could say, happened in episode 14 and 15. But his rise was basically having another attack on this first attack on the school. He had the plant attack on the plant area, and then he had the attack on the school. And this attack on the school allowed him to capture his father. So that's his rise moment, which unfortunately doesn't last long because we know what happens in the recent episode. But his rise is basically, I got my father now, and I'm going to... He did it all wrong. This whole notion of bringing Earth and space together, he was trying to do that, but he did it all wrong, all terrible, just fell right through. But it's interesting to see how these characters went about this. But it's interesting to also see how you see this comparison of Suletta and Mercury, and how her rise, though, wasn't anything. Oh, you took her Gundam away and you're supposedly protecting her. Not really. Not really. She really didn't do that. If we're being honest here, but that's another video. My point is, as much as I hated how they did it in 17 and 18, still, it produced the desired result. It produced her in pushing, basically moving forward, not caring about, she kind of likes her mother still, loves her mother still, but really, okay, let's move on from that. Meanwhile, some other characters can't get past their mistakes, which I will talk about in the next video. But I'd like to ask you guys questions about this just comparison of these episodes and how jarring it is. How we've had 2 episodes with Suletta being depressed and getting, and all of a sudden, it's gone. It's like at the end of episode 19, she gets over it, she understands, and she moves forward. As we see in the end of episode 19, it goes into episode 20 and 21. So, and like I said, it was not just them there. It was also Earth House with Martin, Choo Choo, and all those people there. They are moving forward. They are, in episode 21, basically are put in the forefront here. Meanwhile, certain other characters are not. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. I'm going to do one more. This is going to be the fall. The fall of Shattuck, Mercury, the next video, and Ghoul. You'll see what I mean. I'll see you guys later. Peace.